Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Knight here, and I'm coming back at you again today, people, with a brand new Fortnite video. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing a list of top 10 Fortnite skins that used to always kill you. So, I basically had the idea for this actually inspired essentially by this meme right here on screen. Basically, everyone knows what a sweat is, and everyone knows the skins that are associated with them. You got your auras, your dynamos, your manics, your crystals, all of that sort of stuff. However, there was actually a time in Fortnite where the skins that scary and really good players use were actually much different, and I would say much cooler. So I thought it'd be pretty fun just to take a look at what a lot of these skins were back in the day of like seasons 2, 3, maybe even season 4. So if you do enjoy them, please do me a favor and leave a big fat thumbs up and subscribe. That'd be greatly appreciated. And with that said, let's just jump right into it. Alright guys, so you know the drill. Before we get into the top 10, I do have to give one quick honorable mention, and that is actually going to go to the Love Wings. So back in the day of seasons 2, 3, and 4, there actually weren't any sets of wings in the game other than this one. So because of that, that made the backbling a lot more special and a lot more unique, and it was actually very common for pros to run this a lot. And honestly, it was a very iconic thing to do at the time. Like, honestly, like if you saw just like a normal skin back in the day, you'd be like, okay, you know, it's whatever, it's just that skin. But then you see them with the wings, and there was just something about it that really, it just made you tense up. There was something that is just like, it was very iconic of pros to do this. So I decided I would give them a mention here, but only an honorable mention just because they're a backbling and not a skin. Alright guys, so starting off our list at the number 10 spot, this is actually going to be the Raven. I remember this skin when it first dropped into the shop back in season 3, and my goodness, it was popular. I kid you not, so many people bought it, it actually crashed the server. Epic literally had the servers down for like a couple days, and then in order to compensate people for that, they gave away the Rust Bucket for free in the item shop. Which, I mean, I really don't see that much compensation because it's a bad backbling, but regardless, that just goes to show how popular the skin was. And at the time, it was actually a very scary skin. I mean, one, it was honestly just a very intimidating skin in terms of how just, you know, spooky it looks. I mean, it's like this phantom bird man. But on top of that, it was just also something that pros commonly ran. I think mainly just because of the fact that it was a legendary skin. And at the time, there weren't that many of them. So, I mean, if someone was spending 2,000 V-Bucks on the game, you know that they were probably pretty committed. Alright, and now moving on to the number 9 spot, this is actually going to be the Dark Voyager. Now, expect to see a few Season 3 Battle Pass skins on here because this is basically the time period I'm talking about. But this skin was very popular when it first dropped because at the time it was very unique. I mean, astronauts were a brand new concept to the game, and it actually looked very cool to people, the whole dark and orange color scheme. It was very loved by a lot of people, and it was actually a little bit high up in the Battle Pass. I think tier 70, around that was where it was. And so, typically, you would see someone running it, and it's like, okay, yeah, legendary Battle Pass skin, it's pretty high up, so you probably had to either buy your way to get it, or you had to grind out to get it. So either way, that probably means that whoever's using it is one heck of a player, and that an insane building match was about to go down right then and there. Alright, and now moving on to our number 8 spot, this is going to be the Bright Bomber. Now, obviously, everyone knows that the Dark Bomber has essentially replaced this skin as one of the most popular in the game, and it's kind of just dethroned it. But back in the day, seasons 3, 4, even 5, I would say, this skin was so popular because of how many streamers used it. I mean, you saw so many streamers, Dakotas, Myth, Ninja, Cypher, everyone was all over this skin. And so because of that, a lot of the good players kind of just followed that and they used it as well. And because of that, it was, I mean, you know, it was a very scary skin to come across. And it's actually kind of interesting though, because it was also at the time the most common skin in the game, because I mean, it was literally in the shop 24/7. Like every week they would put this skin in the shop. It was like that season's aura, if you will. So pretty interesting to look at the skin, the history of it, because, well, nowadays it's just kind of like a mess skin. Back then, it was a whole other sight to see if you came across one of these. Alright, and now moving on to our number 7 spot, this is actually going to be the default skins. Now, default skins back then were essentially the same thing as they are today. I mean, typically you see someone with no skin on, and yeah, they're typically not that good of a player. However, there was actually a little bit of a trend going on in Season 3 where some people would actually intentionally not use a skin and they would be underestimated because every time you saw a no skin, you would just assume, okay, it's a noob, whatever. I don't need to fight hard in order to beat this guy. And then suddenly they build an entire 5-star resort with a built-in indoor water park and free Wi-Fi, and you just have no clue what just happened. Like, you're just dumbstruck at seeing this no skin just suddenly built, like the Empire State Building, in the span of 5 seconds, and then they just absolutely wreck you, and you basically just want to go reconsider your entire life choices. Now, you do see a couple of these types of players these days, but back in this time, it was just a completely different thing because you just felt so, like, stupid if you ever lost to a no skin. Alright, now moving on to number 6, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Marauder. So, I would say these days, the Ginger Gunner gets the reward for being the most sweaty Christmas skin, but back in the time, back of Season 3, it was definitely the Marauder. I mean, you saw the gingerbread man coming up on the hill, and you just knew some crap was about to go down. I mean, he was a scary skin, one, just because a lot of the pros used him, but two, also because he was actually kind of a rare skin, because you had to play back in the original Season 2 in order to get him at the time. So, multiple factors went into it, but at the end of the day, I'm just saying, you saw the gingerbread man, and he was the epitome of Christmas fear. Alright, and now moving on to our number 5 spot, this is going to be the Red Knight. Now, both this and the Black Knight were both some of the scariest skins in the game, not only just because of how BA they looked, but on top of that, she was actually at the time sort of a Season 2 exclusive because you can only get her if you bought her in Season 2, and if you didn't get her, then you had to wait until late into Season 4 for her to be re-released. So yeah, I just think that there was something about her that just, I think it has to do with the fact that, again, rare and a little bit exclusive at the time, and also because of the fact that a lot of streamers were associated with it. So, like, you saw the Red Knight, and it really made you tense up a little bit. Alright, and now moving on to our number 4 spot. I'm actually going to pair 2 skins up for this one. This is going to be one that I know so many people are going to be familiar with. It's going to be the Skull Trooper and Ghoul Trooper. Now, these days, you see either one of these skins, and you're typically not all that fazed by it. You're just like, it's whatever. But back in the day of Seasons 3, 4, and 5, you saw one of these characters coming at you. You see the skeleton coming over the distance, and you just knew you were about to get into the duel of the century. I mean, one, it doesn't help that it was already just considered to be one of the most sought-after skins in the game because it was so rare, but also because of the fact that there were OG players only that had it at the time. And so, because of that, they had to have been playing since October 2017 in order to get it. And honestly, I'm not even gonna lie, I kind of miss when the Skull Troopers were scary. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm glad I now have the Skull Trooper. I actually think it's a pretty solid skin, even though it's basic. But, I don't know, there's something about just seeing the classic Skull Trooper in-game and just being like, oh my gosh, it's a really rare skin, and it's also probably a very good player because they're an OG. But, now, you're typically not going to be all that scary unless you're either a purple Skull Trooper or a pink Ghoul Trooper. Alright, and now moving on to our number 3 position, this is going to be another pretty memorable one. It's going to be the Black Knight. Now, I do understand that. I do call this skin overrated sometimes, but honestly, I almost want to say it's underrated in a sense because it seems like nowadays, people who have the Season 2 Battle Pass, they don't even use the Black Knight. They just use, like, the Sparkle Specialist or the Elite Agent and just pair the Black Shield with it for the sake of flexing. But back then, it was the Black Knight itself that frightened you. The shield was kind of, just kind of a whatever thing. I mean, sometimes it could be a little bit scary, but typically, it was the Black Knight himself. That was the true menace of Season 2. I mean, it was just terrifying. You saw that level 70 Battle Pass skin, which there were no challenges back in the time, mind you. So you had to either be grinding your butt off, or you had to be, crazy enough to pay for all those tiers. And it was just, he was a scary dude. Now, I would say these days, most Black Knights actually aren't that intimidating because most Season 2 players, like I said, if they're a sweat, they're going to be using Sparkle Specialist. If they're using a Black Knight, then they're probably more of a casual player. Alright, and now moving on to number 2. This is actually probably the one that I would personally say was the scariest back at that time. I would almost even say that it has triggered some serious PTSD in me. However, there's one that is definitely more iconic, so therefore I'm going to save that one for the number 1 spot. But for number 2, I gave it to the Cuddle Team Leader. Man, I genuinely missed the days where this was a scary skin. I mean, I would get so stupidly frustrated whenever I would die to the pink teddy bear. I remember all the time in seasons 3 and 4, I was just like, dude, it's always a pink teddy bear every single time. It's that stupid pink teddy bear every time, and it was so frustrating that I was just hilarious looking back on it. And then that actually is kind of what motivated me to buy the color simulator, and now I have no regrets because I just think it's a, you know, it's a fun skin. But back in that time, it was stupid how scary this skin was. I mean, like, it was honestly, like, it made me lose my mind how many times I died to this skin. But again, looking back on it, it's actually quite hilarious, and it brings me back. It brings me back to a different time in Fortnite where just some of the most ridiculous skins were the ones that usually make you poop your pants. Alright, but then finally, closing off our list, at the number 1 spot, it could not have gone to any other one. It was the one, the only, the John Wick, the aka the Reaper. Everyone's favorite scary skin, the original scary skin, the most iconic scary skin. It was just something else back in this time. Now, I personally, like I said before, would probably actually give my number 1 spot to the color simulator, but I just couldn't not give it to the original John Wick because of how iconic it was. I mean, you've all seen the meme, the when you shoot a John Wick once meme, and then suddenly he just builds an entire Eiffel Tower right before your eyes. I mean, it's just nuts. I mean, every single time you got into an encounter with this man, you had to make sure you didn't crap yourself first before you even started fighting. And then once you start, you realize it's not even a fight. It's an execution because he just wiped the floor with you in the span of 5 nanoseconds. I mean, it was insane. John Wick was just an absolute madman at the time, and again, it truly brings me back. These days, I would say John Wick actually is still kind of a scary skin just because, you know, a Season 3 OG, but typically most people who play in Season 3 are going to be using Elite Agent, and I would definitely say that is way scarier. But back in this time, John Wick, he was the man. So I figured because he's just so iconic, everyone knows about him, that I couldn't not give it to him, so therefore he comes in at number 1. Alright, but anyways, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to leave a big fat thumbs up and subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated because this video was actually quite a lot of fun to make. You know, just to take some time to reminisce on some of the old classics that used to frighten me back in the days of Seasons 3 and 4. But anyways, with that said, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.